Yaga. Yeah, no, I had to revisit this. So this week I was watching a video by a channel. A guy, his name's Denzel Moss. Check him out. Denzel Moss setting Empaths free. Very, very good channel. Depending on where you are on your journey, his things will relate to your circumstances or not. Because I remember when I first started watching him, there was some bits that I didn't relate, I didn't quite understand. And as I kept going on my journey and I kept going through my awakening, I kept seeing more and more things it was like he had a crystal ball, like he was literally just giving me validation. It was explaining things that was good, that I was seeing, that was going on in my life. So it's one of my favorite channels, Denzel Moss. I might link it somewhere. Anyway, so he was making a video. I watched one of his videos this week, and the video reminded me of my situation where I had to resign from my toxic workplace. Now, as I was saying in the last video that I posted, obviously when someone abuses you verbally and they say something negative to you, a lot of the time it's not about us. It's not about the person they're giving this abuse to. It's not usually about you. It's usually about themselves. And a lot of times when people are trying to compete with you, the best response is to give them no response, or to be even better, work harder, be smarter, outwork, outdo them in all the ways that, so they have no, you respond with your results, basically, is what I'm saying. Now, when this man said this comment to me, because there was so much built up in me, my response, which was not the response that I would advise, was very reactive. And you always want to take a couple of seconds to observe what's going on and not just give in to that vibration, because then I actually matched him, because I went down to his level and I started to respond and defend and attack him, and I came out of my character, and that's when I got kicked off the site. Now, by this dwarf supervisor who is a malignant narcissist. So the malignant narcissist and that guy, they are friends outside work. They do like hobbies outside work together. So when that guy called me an effing waste of space, it was kind of that supervisor speaking through him, if that makes sense. It's kind of like spiritual how these things work, because the guy who actually said the words, in terms of hierarchy, in terms of level of work, in terms of knowledge, in terms of experience, in terms of expertise, in terms of know-how, in terms of like what you can do, what you're able to do, he's way below me in the pecking order in the business, and everybody knows it. So that should even be more reason why when he made that comment, I should have just laughed it off. It should have just been like water off a duck's back. Sorry, but why I responded like that was because there was a build-up of events, as in there was the 19 pieces of equipment that was drilled wrong, and sort of having to drive back to our depot and collect more. They're poles, so they're really heavy. Load them up into our big vans. The actual signals, like traffic signals, and they were drilled on the wrong side, so we had to drill those on the correct side. With our hands, screw in the plugs that were on the wrong side. Because the poles have cables up, then we had to cut all the cable. We had to bring the poles down, pull the cables out, cut all the cables, and then rewire them with the correct back, and then drill them again to the right height, to the specifications. Now, myself and but mainly one other person, we did this fixing of this site. It took us about a week and a half to now correct the site. Now the site was okay, right? And I have also worked with fix up some other issue that he had in the past. So when he said that comment, I just exploded, right? Now, before that explosion that had happened, there was also a time where I had to go back to our depot to collect some of the equipment to hang. And when I drove back there, I had to go and collect my big van that was being serviced at the time, not too far from there. So I went to go and pick up my van, the bigger van, to put the equipment in. And then when I drove back to the depot where they were supposed to be loading me up, they had just left. So that was another thing. They had just left me to like load up all this big equipment by myself. Another thing that happened was I had this drill, and the drill had stopped working. Now it had stopped working, but it was the colleague that I was working to fix that site with, he was using it with another colleague, and for some reason the drill had stopped working. Maybe, I'm not sure if they had broken it and they had just dumped it back in my van. They didn't tell me, oh, it's not working, we put it there, go and return it to the company, see if they can get you. They just dumped it, didn't put it back into the case and nothing. So they just dumped it. So that's like a third strike. On top of that, my van had there was an Allen key set, and it was in my van, and I heard the door of my van went closed at one point. I looked around the corner and nothing was there. So either they had removed it from my van, or when I was inside the depot next building area, someone had removed that set from my bag. That's another thing. So there are all these little things that usually wouldn't have been a big deal, but because they were all sort of at the same time, it forced me to just be like, you know what, I'm not having this. Now, at the end of the day, like, my peace of mind, nobody's worth my peace of mind. So this toxic workplace, even though they're like one of the biggest companies in this field, in globally, in fact, because they do it all over the world, and they've got so many different departments I could have moved to, I could have gone and done different things. At that time, even the fact that I had gone into my lower self at that moment, it was a indication that I had to make something drastic. In that point, I had to act. Yeah, and you're gonna have this in life sometimes where something might be happening. You might be walking and someone's about to walk into the road. You might actually have to grab the person and pull them back. I've done it before. Or someone's going to attack a woman or whatever, and you just go and hold the man off the woman, or you have to like make a split second decision and you have to do something. Some people freeze, or you can act, fly or freeze, fly or freeze, that sort of response. Now, what I'm explaining that is, it was a combination of things. Now I left because nowhere is worth your peace of mind. And here we go, I'm getting back to the point I was trying to make. So when everything blew up, I called my manager, and this is where it links to the video of the Denzomos. And when I was explaining to the manager, he couldn't hear me. So everything that I had explained to the manager, okay, one, I got kicked off the site, okay. I was explaining to the manager. He couldn't hear what it was that I was trying to explain to him, as in, I was obviously a recipient of abuse. So I was having a reactive abuse. I was acting after someone had called me a name. So they're looking at, oh, you respond. Okay, we're going to point the finger at you for responding. But what about the person that caused you to have that reaction? When I was speaking to my manager, the project manager, he couldn't hear me. There was nothing I could have said to make him see, just to understand my point of view. So from that point, I knew on the phone, I'm like, you know what? It's all right. Keep your job. I'm going to return my van tomorrow. Believe whatever they say. And that was the point where he said, he wants to speak to me about, they said how I had packed up my ladders 1 hour early one day on site. Now, the guy that I was working with that must have reported me, because there's only two of us. He had only been on site for 20 minutes, half an hour, because he had to go and drive to our other depot to find these special plugs, because his friend that abused me had drilled the equipment on the wrong side. So he had to leave the site, because he was in charge of that site, to go and get the plugs. And then when he brought them back, I had to re-drill them and then screw them on manually with my hand to correct the old plugs. So that guy came back, but I was the only one on working on the site while he had left. So I was there going around all the ladders, carrying this equipment by myself, using my spanner, tightening it up, wiring them in the. And it was this day. It was very cold, mind you, very very cold. I had these hand warmer packs that you break and they become warm. I had it inside my gloves. I even gave him one, and he had just left, so he wasn't even using it. So I had to head. So by the time I hadn't taken a lot, so by the time he got back, my hands were very cold. I was tired. I hadn't taken a lunch, so I said, you know what? Let me just pack down today. We can finish the rest maybe tomorrow. So he reported me to that manager. So that manager brought that up. But the thing is, that guy had hurt his finger recently, and he had missed a whole week because of one bad finger. Not, oh, I'll come to work and I'll just maybe help other people do things and just assist other people because I'm unable-bodied. But he missed a whole week. But that hypocrite, he told on me for packing down 1 hour. Now, because our company we have like or my ex company, they have a portal system, and the portal will tell you, you know, when you're going to get paid. It has like your pay slips on it, your expenses. It would say how many times you've been absent. My absence rate was like 0.2. So I'm always at work. I'm hardly ever not at work. Never ever called in sick. This guy had a bad finger. He was gone for a week. The guy that abused me had a toothache. He was gone for a whole week. And they take days off here and there. They turn up to work hungover. They turn up to work tired and half drunk. All these things that happens. But me, because I had packed up my ladder 1 hour early. So this project manager was telling me that, and that's when I had that moment, that light bulb moment went off. That there is nothing that I can say that will change his mind or will make him see it from my point of view. And this is what you're gonna find, and this is what Denzel is saying. The people that we are in our reality, they're NPCs. These narcs, these narcopaths, they are told something and they just follow it like blindly. They don't see like, oh, what, was I tired? Did I have a migraine? Did I hurt my hand? Did I not take a lunch? Did I maybe my hands were frozen? All of these reasons that it could have been why I packed up 1 hour early. That project manager didn't think for 1 second. He didn't have any because they don't have any empathy, guys. He could have put himself in my shoes for what was the reason that he packed up 1 hour early. He was up there himself the whole day. I know, and there's a regulation which I think it's something like you're supposed to take a break every half an hour when you're working high up and working at height on a ladder every half an hour. And I was up there for hours by myself, going around different ones by myself, different poles and wiring up the thing. And yeah, guys, this project manager didn't see my point of view, even though, only 1 hour. He was telling me, he was complaining. So the next day, when I came to hand my van back in, my keys and my laptop and my iPad and everything, my phone, everything, if I had taken a day or two more days, I would have calmed down. I wouldn't have left. I would have calmed down. I would have been like, oh, it happened. Let me just continue working my job. However, it will just prolong it. It will just prolong, having to work with them. They gang stalk you. If you're working across from them, they'll be working and secretly they keep looking over to see what you're doing, time and how long you took. When the supervisor's not there, they'll call him up and tell him, oh, he's taking this long to do this, to do this, Supervisor will say, oh, why are you taking so long? They're if you're pulling through a cable through the ground, and if there's two draw pits and there's three of you, two will go to that one and I will always be by myself, always. And I've been on hundreds of sites. Even if there's 6 people, 5 people, it's always me by myself on a pit and everybody else on another pit. Nobody ever comes, oh, let me go and help him on that pit. They always gather together. So there's nobody watching your back. There's nobody on your side. You don't get any support from no one. You're looked at. You're judged harshly. You're not given any credit. And guys, this is the reality. So I had to go. I had to resign. Now, let me get back to what I was saying. Yeah, so if when you're having this sort of scenario and you're trying to like, oh, let me give them another chance, let me give them the benefit of that. There's no point. They will never see it from your point of view because they can't and they're not meant to. They're the same type of people who are never supposed to wake up. So we have this spiritual awakening, so we can see things. We self-reflect. We have our trauma. We try and heal. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. Yes, we are working on our issues like them, but they are in a continuous loop. They're all in their addiction. They're all in ego, their victimhood, blaming other people, breadcrumbing you, keeping us in the loop, enjoying the fact that they are tricking us and keeping us on the hamster wheel, dominating and controlling us. Because the project manager, the dwarf supervisor, would have to answer to him. But he was keeping the stance of not listening to a word I said, not seeing it from my point of view. When I took my van back, he was panicking a little bit. He was walking up and down the office, phoning on his phone because he didn't believe that the next day I was gonna leave because I told him on the phone. I turned up. He thought that I was gonna turn up next day. I would be in my uniform ready to work, and I was not. I stuck to my guns, guys. And this is the exact same thing you need to do because they're NPCs, they're going to believe the scripts. They're going to believe the program. This whole thing is like a program, like they say, the Matrix. Like if I go outside my flat now, there'll be a car waiting for me. Sometimes I go to the gym. I come back and things in my house have been moved around. They leave little things to let me know that someone has been in. They might leave little tears and things. I'm so careful on how I am. So I know there's certain things that I'll find I couldn't have done. There was a time when I went to the gym and somebody had put a lunch into my locker, into my bag. So I opened my bag and there was some lunch. I did not know where this lunch came from. And it was in a bag of the shop that I frequent. So they do these little things to let you know that you have been watched. These monitoring spirits, these characters. And they all just follow whatever is the program of like, they've heard this about you, that you're this really big bad wolf who lives up on the hill, so they must watch everything you do. They must spy on you. They must follow your cars. They must break into your devices, your computers. That manager, he's also a narc. There was a time when I came into the office one time and I was being sent to another depot. As I was driving out, he saw me, and if you had seen the face on the look he gave me was like, "Where do you think you're going?" It was on his face. So it's all about control and domination, guys. There's no point of understanding them. They're never gonna see it from your point of view. So when you're in this scenario, just leave. Just do what I did. Just leave. I'm good. I've left the place. I literally had no backup plan, no job to go to, just literally walking on faith. Had no, no like planned it, saved up, no nothing. I had to get out of there because at the end of the day, one, the guy that got me out of my character, tricked me out of my position, got me out of my character. He's not on my level. He's not worthy of my presence. He's not worthy of my peace. The dwarf that I always work with, who's always like dressing me down, or just make a mental image of that. He's like a dwarf. He's like really small, and I'm tall. He's always dressing me up. He's always shouting up to me. so you're sort of walking on eggshells. So your peace of mind, just the fact that I haven't been there, I haven't even looked into my things for that work. I've been so like paralyzed with anger, paralyzed with, because you have all these emotions that's rushing through your mind after something happened. You're disappointed because you think, oh, I could have dealt with that better. You're angry because you're like, oh, how can that happen? You're a bit sad because there's areas of your job that you enjoyed. There's people that for that company that I enjoyed being around. It wasn't like every single person was in those group, but at the end of the day, I was targeted, and the majority of the people that I had worked there with were NPCs, were narcs, followed the program, were finding ways to sabotage, trip me up, upset me. I mean, if you go back into the library of videos, you will see so many videos of different narc or head narc this, da 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 da. There's so many instances. Even when I called another manager. So I spoke to two managers that day. I called another manager and I was speaking to him, and I was speaking to him on the phone. And all I could hear on his side was mm, mm, So after I heard like four or five um, I just was like, "Ugh, there's no point." He couldn't hear me either. And then he started talking about, his issue, or he had to go somewhere to see his mother or something, or drive his mother somewhere. So I listened to that conversation about him and what he needed to do. And then I was like, okay, nice. I'll take care. So I'll see you later. Bye. So don't spend time explaining, going over things with narcs. Once you see the pattern recognition, just leave the job, leave the flat, leave the relationship, leave the friendship. I've done that. Leave the family. I've done that. Leave the toxic workplace. I've done that. This is a cycle that we have to learn to just leave as soon as we see it. This cycle keeps repeating itself from secondary school, primary school, where there was a cool group, kicked out of that. Secondary school, there were like these like gangs that kicked out of that gang. There was after that there was college group where it was football, kicked out of that. University football thing, kicked out of that. Then work is the same. Job, leave this job hopping, go to another job, that job, this job. People gang up on you there, and you think is it you? There's something you're doing wrong, and you're targeted because you're anointed and Most High's got His hand in your life, and these people, they just attack you for that purpose. They won't say it. They don't know they're doing it. A lot of it's unconscious. It's a spiritual thing, but that is the reason. And the more you can see it, and you can start to sort of see it for what it is, and try not to be too hard on yourself, or try not to judge it too much. You can kind of like deal with it better and try and find ways to protect yourself. But it happens. Now's the time to reflect, to sort of work on those wounds. When someone triggers you, those are things you've got to deal with. You've got to go back and write it down and journal, and try to understand what in your past that you've held on to, that you've got to sort of work through. And slowly you get to the point where you can be the observer, so you don't just react straight on something. You actually take a moment, breathe, absorb it, see that this person's just projected onto you, and deal with it with more grace, if that makes sense. Anyway, I hope that helps, and I'll see you on the next one.